Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Once again, as always, thank you for watching. What I'm preparing today are stuffed meatballs, and I have some very good ground beef that I got from Wegmans. I'm going to stuff that with spinach, local ricotta, and pine nuts. Also, I have a nice fresh piece of trout that I got from my local fish market, and I'm going to stuff that the same way. Don't be afraid to use fish the same way you would meat. I'm a pescatarian and I don't eat meat, but I love seafood, I love fish, and I treat it sometimes the same way as I would a meat dish. So what I'm going to do is stuff the trout the same way that I'm going to prepare my meatballs. And also I'm going to make some risotto to go on the bottom of the meatballs and the trout. What I'm doing right here is toasting my pine nuts, and you want to toast those quickly. Once you put those on a hot skillet, you want to watch that because pine nuts will toast very quickly and burn if you don't watch them. And pine nuts are very expensive, so you don't want this to happen. In the next pan, I have some garlic and red onion, and I'm sauteing that with a bit of olive oil. I'm going to add some spinach to that once it's cooked for about 1 or 2 minutes. And here I have some spinach, fresh spinach that has been washed and dried as much as you can get the water out of it. I'm going to saute that just until it wilts. Once your spinach has finished cooking, you want to drain most of the liquid out as much as you can get out of it, because once again we're going to use this for our stuffing for the meat, and you don't want too much liquid in your stuffing. Here I have my ground beef, and I'm seasoning it with some all-purpose spice, salt, and pepper. You can use whatever you usually season your meat with. And for my trout, I'm doing the same thing, an all-purpose spice with salt and pepper. Usually I try to buy all-purpose spices or make my own, and I don't put a lot of salt in it, so I can always add salt and pepper once I use an all-purpose spice. Whenever you buy an all-purpose spice, always taste it when you bring it home to see how salty it is, because you don't want to ruin your meal with it. And you'll know what you're working with once you taste it. So here I have some local, beautiful, fresh ricotta cheese, and I've added that to a bowl with some salt and pepper. And I always use nutmeg when I'm making some kind of a Italian dish, when I'm making pasta or when I'm making a white sauce or when I'm using ricotta cheese. I always put just a little bit of nutmeg in it. I've added my pine nuts, and I'm going to add my spinach and mix that up, and then I'm going to grate some Parmesan Reggiano cheese in it and add my I forgot. Lost track of thought. Okay, I'm going to add some fresh basil. And this basil was picked from my garden. I had a ton of basil growing at that time. So I washed my basil, dried it, put it in a paper towel when I picked it, and now I added it to my ricotta mixture. Here I'm just mixing up my meat a little bit, and I'm making a pocket by flattening it out, especially in the middle portion, and rounding it around the filling to form my meatballs. I'm making meatballs pretty huge. So I have 4 meatballs, and I had about a pound of ground beef. That way you can just serve 1 meatball per person and get it out of the way. Put a nice big meatball on the top of your risotto and you're a rock star. Everybody's full, everybody's happy. And what I'm doing now is stuffing my trout. So I did it the same way. I just put it in the middle of my fish, and I'm going to use a big wooden skewer to close the fish so the filling won't come out while it cooks. You can also use toothpicks for this. On my fish, I've also added some olive oil just on the outside of the skin so it can be nice and crispy. Right now, I'm about to make my risotto, so I'm heating up my vegetable stock. You can use chicken stock or whatever kind of stock you like, or whatever you have on hand. I'm using vegetable stock because, again, I don't eat meat and I want to eat some risotto. I have a marinara here that I got from a local farm, and it's Alsteade Farm in New Jersey. It's a beautiful farm. They have lots of apples that they usually grow during the winter time, and in the summertime, of course, they have all of your summertime veg. They make their own jams. They have honey. They have maple syrup. They have wine tasting there from a vineyard, Tomasello Vineyard. So anytime I go there, I make sure I bring my glass, and they give a free wine tasting. You get 5 glasses of wine anytime you bring your glass for free. So I always try to visit them whenever I can. Back to the risotto. I've sauteed my garlic, a little bit of the garlic that I had left over from my spinach. I added garlic, I added shallot, and then I'm going to add my roasted garlic. And you can buy that in the market already roasted in a pack, like I used here. So what I want to do is toast up my risotto rice a little bit in the olive oil before I start adding my liquid. And then I'm going to ladle in my liquid, just one ladle at a time, or 2 ladles at a time, I'm sorry, two ladles at a time, and you want to keep on stirring that to bring out the starch from the rice, and it makes it very creamy, and that's what makes risotto. I've just added about a cup of white wine to that also. And wine is optional. If you don't want to use wine, you don't have to. I add white wine because it gives it a nice flavor, and that's also traditional to use white wine when you're making risotto. And you don't have to worry about alcohol because anytime you cook with alcohol, the alcohol actually cooks out of the product and you're just left with the taste. So here I'm just constantly stirring my risotto. I have my heat on medium, and I'm going to keep on doing that until the rice is done. I like my rice to have just a little bite. I don't want it mushy, but I don't want it crunchy either. So al dente, the same way you would do your pasta. My fabulous meatballs have just come out of the oven. I put those on a 300 in a 375-degree oven just for about 15-20 minutes because it's a thin layer of meat on the outside. You just want the meat to cook and the ingredients on the inside to warm up. My fish is ready as well. I put that in the oven and roasted that along with my meatballs. And you want to roast the fish depending on how big your fish is for the same time, about 15-20 minutes. Usually when I make risotto, I use about 5 handfuls of rice and 1 box of stock, and that usually is enough stock for that amount of rice. And this is enough to have some leftovers. I always like to make more risotto than what I need, and then I take it out of the refrigerator and make risotto cakes. And I fry those just by coating it in flour, egg, breadcrumbs, and fry it, and it's delicious. So I'm put my risotto down on the plate. I put my meatball on top, and then I topped it with that good marinara, some more parmesan Reggiano, and just garnished it with some fresh basil. Here I've cut my fish in half and plated that on top of my risotto, along with the Parmesan cheese and the sauce, and also garnishing with some fresh basil. And this was delicious, guys. Please try it. It's really easy. It only took me maybe 30 to 40 minutes to make this dish from start to finish. It was delicious. Give it a try. It can be a nice date night meal or just an everyday meal. Thank you for watching my channel. And once again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe.